It's the radio guy, Mike Prince. Welcome to another live episode here of the Mike Prince Show, Sunday night edition. We got a pretty good show lined up for you on tonight. We'll hear from the victorious head football coach of the Waller Bulldogs. They were able to roll right past Caney Creek this weekend, Coach Gene Johnson. We had a little historical event to take place. We'll talk about that in just a moment. We also have a long-time legend. If you listen to any Texas A&M football, basketball, baseball broadcast, you may not have known who it was, but you heard the voice and familiar the voice. Mr. Dave South will join us on tonight. We got a lot to cover. It's always never enough time. The fastest hour in the world of radio broadcast. So put on your seatbelt, hold on tight, and let us roll right on to tonight's episode. Don't forget our sponsored featured guest, Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union, attorney Lee Van Richardson, Prairie View Athletic Club. We also want to acknowledge Diva Skin Conditioner at divafeet.com, the Temple of Refuge Ministries, Helping Hands Ministry, and you, the listener. I've done enough chattering on the intro. Let's go ahead and get this party started. Well, it is another victorious week for my beloved Pittsburgh Steelers. They took care of the Cleveland Browns, and I'm okay with that. 5-0, not counting the chickens before they hatch, but I can take that and I can deal with that on the regular. Houston Astros came up short, close but no cigar. They gave the Rays a run for their money, and surprisingly, well, I guess not too surprising, there are a lot of people who said they did not want to see the Astros make it back to the World Series. But you have to give them credit. They were scrappy. They didn't quit, and they are a good ball club, which makes the cheating that much more frustrating. There was no need to cheat. You have talent, but it's taken care of. Now, as you switch over to the National League, you wonder, have the Braves tightened up a little bit with the Dodgers making their run? Game 7 tonight, and that should be very, very interesting. And what we thought was going to be interesting turned out to be somewhat of a laugher. Is the Green Bay-Tampa Bay game. That is, I guess it is what it is, huh? And what about the city of Tampa Bay? The Tampa Bay Lightning winning the NHL championship. Tampa Bay Rays going to the World Series. And there's a new shot in the arm for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll see how it all plays out. Big weekend between Georgia and Alabama A&M. I'm sorry, not Alabama A&M. I'm swag bound, baby, swag dedicated. But the Alabama Roll Tide. And Nick Saban, when the report came out that Nick Saban had tested positive, I heard it, filed it, but I knew between the point of the report and kickoff, somehow, some way, it was going to appear that there was a false positive and Nick Saban was going to end up on that sideline. He was already fussing and complaining that there were not enough tools and features where he could be on the sideline virtually when he was first, quote unquote, diagnosed. But nonetheless, they figured that out. So we think, or did they just say, to heck with it, I'm going in? Nonetheless, Alabama comes out on top of Georgia. Too much at stake. And we've already seen, it's already been shown that we're going to do what we're going to do to make sure that we get the games in. Now, Florida's head football coach has been reported for having the virus or tested positive for the virus. He's shown some symptoms, but it's just crazy all over the place. Absolutely crazy. Speaking of crazy, it's a big matchup now, the revisit of Week 4 now in Week 7 between the Tennessee Titans and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Both teams coming in undefeated. Titans able to beat the Texans in overtime. 212 rushing yards for Mr. Henry. Man, oh man, what a load to bring down. But that's what you do. That's why you play the games, and that's what makes competition exactly that, competition. We're going to take us a break, get ready for our first guest on tonight. That is none other than Coach Gene Johnson of the Waller Bulldogs. We'll be right back. You listen to the Mike Prince Show live right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
One voice. It can get the point across, but it only carries so far. Add a voice. It's richer, louder, but that has limits too. Add a third voice. It's even more powerful. Add another, and another, and many, many more, and we are stronger than ever. That's the power of a community coalition. They help community groups, faith groups, civic organizations, PTAs, employers, and many others in your community organize their resources and focus them where they're needed most, like fighting to keep kids away from drugs. Ask a group that you belong to if they should belong to a community coalition. It's easy to get involved. Visit helpyourcommunity.org and they'll tell you exactly how your group can help. That's helpyourcommunity.org, because you get more when we get together. Brought to you by the Office of National Drug Control Policy and the Ad Council.
Broadcasters come into our lives on radio and TV, bringing us information and entertainment. Broadcasters are there for us, but who is there for them when they fall on hard times? The Broadcasters Foundation of America provides financial assistance to broadcasters in acute need due to a critical illness, accident, or other serious misfortune. If you know of a broadcaster on the air or behind the scenes who may need our help, please share our message. Visit broadcastersfoundation.org.
You're listening to the Open Mic Broadcast Network live broadcast coverage. We're taking a break from our game coverage right now, but stay tuned. We'll be back with more action right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Serving the community.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sunday Night Live. Coach Gene Johnson is going to join us in just a moment. I had a little finger flub there. I done got old. I can't multitask like I used to. But nonetheless, we're going to introduce to some, present to others, the head football coach of the Waller Bulldogs. Huge win over the Caney Creek Panthers this past weekend. We had a little history that we created with that. We'll share that in just a moment. Victorious by the score of 56-6. Bulldogs giving up 12 points in the last two games. We were introduced to some, present to others, Coach Gene Johnson. Coach, how you doing, sir?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, thank you for making yourself available. Two huge wins, two big defensive displays and some offensive displays. And just give us a recap of how things rounded out for you guys on Friday.
Well, we didn't get off to quite the same hot start that we did against Cleveland this past week against Caney Creek, but they had a lot to do with that, and we had some missing pieces on the offensive side of the ball, but we played, kind of hung around there a little bit, and gotten a little more control in the second quarter, and was really proud of the guys for kind of overcoming some injuries and things that we had missing, and I thought they played well. Got us a W.
Yes, sir. Now, you're being a little modest there, Coach. You had to really play with a makeshift front line, not just a guard or two, but the entire front line. And it seemed like some of the guys saw some deer lights in the first couple of series, but they finally got it together and held up pretty good in the long run.
No, they did, and I think that deer in the headlight, that continuity thing was a big piece of what's going on. You know, when you got 11 starters on offense, and they need to work together and kind of be used to each other, and you'd be used to the quarterback's cadence and the little checks at the line of scrimmage and so forth. And so we had all 5 starters on the offensive line were out, had a couple freshmen up there getting not just their first varsity experience, but their first varsity start as freshmen. And then, of course, we had Davion Crawford was out as well. So we had 6 of our starters out. And I was really proud of those young kids that stepped in and did such a good job. You're gonna have to bear with me because I have to mention, Luke Irwin and Quavian McDade stepped in there, and we pulled Martinez back over from defense in a week, and he played really well for us at right tackle. And then the 2 freshman pups that played for us there, Jonathan Lopez at left tackle and Joseph Torres at left guard, they all played well. And we rolled Calaquio in off the bench a little bit as well. So those 6 guys, so proud of them for what they were able to do.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, don't ever apologize, because that's what we're about, covering these kiddos, covering the community, and just trying to share information, share some love with Bulldog Nation and beyond, because we are officially the voice of student athletics. So don't ever apologize for highlighting the kiddos, man.
We won't.
Yes, sir. So with everything, as you say, it took them a while to get warmed up and kind of acclimated with one another. And what's more importantly, if you still have to go with this group, they got some experience under them now. You're going into a bye week, but what a better time to come into a bye week, because you're coming into 2 of the hottest teams within the district right now in Magnolia, who will be facing what I call the Battle of the Bulldogs, and then Magnolia West. And I know you're not looking at scoreboards, but you're going to have a pretty tall order to come up in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. They're sitting at the top of the district right now, and they've played Lufkin and College Station. They've run across some good football teams to be there at the top. So we got a lot to chew off here coming up, and we want to keep this thing going, though, and we feel like we've got a little confidence and are starting to play better. And I think right now we want to feed the beast and get our kids believing in what they can do. And we've kind of started a couple weeks ago talking about playing nameless, faceless opponents. And so we have all the respect in the world for, our opponents coming up, but we want to focus on how we play and us doing our best and not get tied into who's on that other side.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that was leading me to my next question, Coach. Sometimes, and I'm not saying this is you in times past, but I've noticed that when coaches have a bye week and then they have a stiff opponent ahead, would you agree with sometimes coaches will overcoach and overanalyze and try to redefine what they've been doing that got them to where they are, because they know they're going to have a different style of opponent coming up with that bye week?
Oh, I think you do have a tendency sometimes to do that. And, you always have to analyze and see if there's things we can tweak and work on. But we kind of need to stay in that mode of nameless, faceless opponent, focus on the things that we're not doing well and just improving our own game. And then I think that stuff works itself out. But, the open week, probably the bigger conversation about the open week is that maybe we'll have an opportunity to get some of those guys back that we're missing and get them back on campus healthy and ready to go to help us.
Yes, sir. No doubt about it. We're talking right now with Gene Johnson of the Waller Bulldogs. Bulldogs victorious over I almost said Cleveland Indians again, but the Caney Creek Panthers by the score 56-6. And all things are clicking, Coach. And we want to thank you guys for allowing us. We set some history on Friday night. We were able to broadcast the game by way of the radio through the video feed, man. And it was, yes, sir. Wow is right. And it was pretty exciting. All the way till the last 2 minutes and 14 seconds in the game, the feed froze up, but we were able to refresh and carry out and get things done. But exciting time to watch it unfold. And we let the folks know it didn't want to be false advertising, but I think you'll be pretty pleased, Coach, with the way things sounded. on that broadcast, and we can't wait when we get ready for the home game against Magnolia. But things are flying high right now with Bulldog Nation. What is the message that you're giving to you guys right now as they're walking in? And let's be honest, Coach, it's been a long time since Bulldog Nation was 2-0 in district.
Yeah, I think we just need to keep working and keep grinding, and it sounds redundant, but just keep focusing on ourselves and playing confident. We need to do that. I tell them there's a big difference between confidence and arrogance, and they've had 2 good wins, and they've done it in convincing fashion, I think. So there's a reason for them to feel good about themselves and be confident, but we've got to continue working on and improving some of the things. We had we ran a route too short there in the first half, a pipe route that we cut off too short. It cost us a possession, and we're going to talk to the kids a lot about, we can't make some of the mistakes that we're doing against some of the opponents we've got coming up and expect to have a chance to win those games. And we lost 2 games early on in the season, and we by 2 possessions, one by 11 points and one by 10 points, and kind of walked our quarterbacks through some of the things that we made mistakes Friday night that cost ourselves 2 possessions. And when we start playing down this grind of this stretch, those 2 possessions can swing the game one way or the other. So we just got to keep hammering along and working, improving, and getting better. And I think that is the thing that I took most pride in last year without winning a game, is that our kids worked hard and they got better. And if we can keep doing that this year, I'm really anxious to see them play and see how it all plays out.
Yes, sir. That is the beauty of sports, athletics as a whole. Sometimes it doesn't look like it on the surface of things that there is improvement making, but it's just like that duck, calm on top of the surface, but feet just moving like mad underneath the water. And when you're seeing these guys strive and watching them develop right before your eyes, we won't call them men just yet, but they turn from adolescence to young men as their progression toward, adulthood in life. And that's got to be one of the joys of why you're coaching these games and coaching these kids, to teach them principles in life that help them when they become fathers, when they become grandfathers, if they live long enough for that deal. And you cannot underestimate the value that sports bring, not only to those that are actually playing, but to the community as a whole.
Absolutely. Some of the comments that you make just hit home for us. We've got several foundation things in our program, and one of those is the simple statement of men or boys. And we talk to our guys about the most unique process as a high school coach is you get to see them start as boys and leave as men. And so we try to focus on the behaviors of our guys and redirect them sometimes. Is that the behavior of a man or a boy? And so when you talk about what we want out of them for life, that's a common thread within our program is behave like men and be treated like men and be seen like men.
Yes, sir, because a lot of people have a tendency to forget every kid that ever picked up a ball, whether it was a football, baseball, basketball, golf ball, tennis ball, they feel that they're going to be the one to make it to the pros. And they'll make it to the pros in the workforce, but not necessarily that of the sport that they have a desire for. So when these guys hang it up for the last time, some of them not realizing that it would be the last time. And then all of a sudden these life lessons where they thought you were riding them and ragging on them for no apparent reason began to rush in like a flood in their minds.
Yeah, they do. They do. We can laugh because we've been down that road and had that experience.
Amen and hallelujah. Oh man, so it's just a good time right now in Bulldog Nation, and it's a good time right now throughout the nation. We're still dealing with this COVID thing. Now I got to ask you this, Coach, because when I first heard it, I said, "Yeah, right." I kind of winked to myself. Did you believe that Nick Saban was going to miss that game this past weekend between the Georgia Bulldogs? Did you actually believe that, Coach?
I have to admit, I bought it. I thought maybe that he was not going to be there coaching, but I'm not questioning anyone's integrity, but I did notice that it was an outside group that he went and got tested by.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He did not take the NCAA test. He got an outside group to retest him. So,
how much you say I need to make this check out for him, and who I need to make it to?
Yeah. I'm not saying that now.
No. I know you're not going to say it, but I'm the talk show host. And I'll take the heat for it. But I was like, if you believe that, when I got some land for sale just for you, but
well, on an alternative point of view, though, in the year 2020, I'm not sure what I believe anymore.
That's for sure. It's been a merry-go-round, no doubt about it. Coach Gene Johnson on the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline. Bulldogs victorious big over the Caney Creek Panthers. Got a bye week. Coach, how do you approach your bye week?
Well, we gave the boys Saturday off because, this has been more of a grind than any other season. We didn't have spring training. And so then you tried to use the summer workouts that the UIL allowed for us to try to catch up. So we felt like the kiddos have been on a really good grind. So we gave them Saturday off. We'll come in Monday and do our Saturday practice, and then we'll get after it a couple days, Tuesday or Wednesday, and then we'll give them off Thursday and come back Friday and kind of start prepping for Mag West and trying to get ready for that one. So we've got a couple of practices there in the middle that are really important, and we need to continue to evaluate our kiddos and improve their fundamentals and try to stay sharp on our timing and our continuity that we spoke about.
Yes, sir. Now, I know it's 2 weeks off, but from the footage that you've been able to at least glance at about Mag West, what are some of the keys that you're going to have to do to have some success with these guys?
Well, I think, last year we didn't slow them at all. They did a tremendous job in whether they were RPO or play action us. They did a tremendous job with their play action pass and a great job with their quick game. Offensively, I felt last year we got off to a slow start there. We had a little post route that we dropped and with the chance to tie it back up 7-7, and they just kind of the tide came in and they really overwhelmed us. So I think, we're going to have to play through sometimes knowing that they're a very good offensive team. We're going to have to slow down some of the things that they do in throwing the ball vertically and off of their play action schemes. But, as has been the case for the entire year, and I'm extremely open with our kids about this, us continuing to improve in the interior lines is going to be the measuring stick on any success that we have. And those kids have done that. They responded. We've gotten better and better up front, and we may not be as big as some of the people that we play up front. So then we've got to be even more fundamentally sound. And so I think, obviously without sounding like it's coach speak, we've got to control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball when we hook up with those guys.
Yes, sir. Now, one thing I noticed during the broadcast on Friday is ironic that you mentioned the interior line. It seems, and I'm from outside looking in, that I call them the big guys, the big uglies up front. They're still somewhat getting into their wind as far as football shape is concerned, because I noticed a couple of drives that they got a little winded toward the end of the game. Is that something that you can help by controlling the pace offensively to help those guys keep their wind?
Yeah, I think so. And then the other thing that I have kind of always said is, there's no way to get into a football game shape other than playing in football games.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we had 5 new kiddos out there that they haven't even played in a varsity game, 3 or 4 of them yet. And so the idea of them having to play a full varsity game, they probably weren't in the best physical shape of being ready for that. But we'll keep pressing and pushing and trying to get into that position where we're in a little better shape to be able to, as you get into those games that are close, and obviously that fourth quarter performance becomes critical.
Yes, sir. It comes critical as they say. It's time where the rubber meets the road to separate the boys from the men, and that's where championships are won, is in that fourth quarter. So things are looking bright now, Coach. On a more lighter side, because I don't want any parents jumping down my throat here, and if I overlooked it, please forgive me. Who are your kick returners and punt returners on the squad?
Well, punt return wise, we had Davion Crawford back there, and he was doing a super job. And of course, he went down. So this last game, Marvin Lewis stepped in.
That's who I thought, but I didn't want to call out the wrong name.
It was, it was kind of funny. We were working our way through our alternative guys that could return punts back there, and Marvin kind of kept popping off, kick me that ball, I can catch it, and so we were back there and we threw up every hard punt and throw it up there for him, and he just fielded the ball cleanly every time. And so that kind of came out of the blue, just kind of came out of nowhere. But Marvin has been such a great kid to coach, and he's one of those kids that when you talk about a kid having confidence but not arrogance, that's Marvin. He's he really has been phenomenal, and he kind of thinks if it's on that football field, he can do it. And so he said, let me back there on those punt returns. Of course, he had the great return for a touchdown that got called back.
Oh, man, I didn't want to bring it up, Coach, but, man, yeah. I know if you had any hair on the top of your head, it was gone after that one.
It was, it was a penalty called on Eddie Tucson, and I'm going to call Eddie.
Oh, no, you didn't. No, you didn't.
well, I am for this reason. But I am for this reason because I don't feel like it was a good call. Eddie was doing just a great job wearing his guy out for the whole play. And then at the last minute, the kiddo kind of turns his back on Eddie as the ball carrier runs by. And so, we got penalized on a play that I thought was an exceptional effort by Eddie. And so we told him, look, you just keep doing what you're doing. And sometimes the calls go against us and they're right. And sometimes those guys make mistakes too, just like we do.
Yes, sir.
But Marvin, had some determination going on that run, did a great job there, and was proud of the effort, even though he drew a penalty on it that we don't think was warranted. Was proud of Eddie and how the boys blocked for him.
Well, the old folks say, don't come out in the wash, will come out in the rinse, and maybe he'll get another one that should have gotten the call, but somehow they'll miss it.
Absolutely.
Well, Coach, we definitely want to thank you so much for joining in with us. Give you some closing thoughts and comments right now, sir.
Just, really appreciate all that the community has done for the boys. And we've had some local businesses step up and help out with their carb load meals and feed the boys on Thursday nights. And, of course, our all of our support groups at the school, even though they haven't been able to travel, they've been so supportive of the guys and made them goodie bags and done things. And we're very fortunate as coaches and players to have a community that loves their Bulldogs, and we can't say thanks enough for that.
Well, the Bulldogs will be back in action next week against Magnolia West, not this week. And if you can't come out, you can always check us out here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network for the live play-by-play coverage. Coach Gene Johnson of the Waller Bulldogs, we thank you so much, sir, for joining in with us on tonight's Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline. We got to take us a break and get ready for our next guest, Mr. Dave South, here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. But you guys keep it right where you got it, and we will be right back. You listen to the Mike Prince Show right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Serving the community through faith and athletics. The Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Hold on, here I come, Coach. Have sports, we'll travel. The Open Mic Broadcast Network serving student athletes from Little League, high school, and collegiate coverage right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. From coast to coast, from dusk till dawn. You can catch all student athletic action right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network, the station designed with you in mind. Serving the community through faith and athletics, the Open Mic Broadcast Network, the voice of student athletics. Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union has 13 different locations to better serve you. Locations in Rosenberg, Missouri City, Katy, College Station, Bryan, Brenham, and Waller, Texas. For more information, you can contact them on their toll-free number, 855-391-2149. Or you can send an email to information@bvscu.org.
Hello, this is Alonzo Hardy Jr., the president of the SWAC Alumni Association. The SWAC Alumni Association is an organization founded on December 10, 1999, at the Sheraton Hotel in Birmingham, Alabama. Its mission is to serve as a rallying ground for individuals who have made the Southwestern Athletic Conference the illustrious conference that it is today. Its membership is open to former student athletes who played in the conference in any sport, as well as to coaches, athletic administrators, staff members, game officials, and fans. Annually, the association holds a Legends Awards and Roast Banquet or luncheon where it honors individuals with Lifetime Achievement Awards, a Chuck Prophet Wagon Master Award, and occasionally a Distinguished Service Award. Proceeds from that event help to finance degree completion scholarships for student athletes who have exhausted their playing eligibility at SWAC universities, but who may still need an extra semester or two to complete their college studies. For more information on the SWAC Alumni Association or to get information on becoming a member, you can send correspondence to SWAC Alumni Association, 875 Miller Creek Lane, Newport News, Virginia, 23602. The email address is swakalumniassociation@yahoo.com.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Sunday Night Live. Mike Prince here with the Open Mic Broadcast Network. We want to thank Coach Gene Johnson, who was on the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline. We're ready to get right back on that same Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline. And we're going out west toward College Station. Good friend of mine, longtime voice of the Texas A&M Aggies. For those who might not know who I'm talking about, Mr. Dave South. How you doing this evening, sir?
Thankful and fearless, Mike, and thank you very much for inviting me to come on your show.
Well, I thank you for receiving the invite, and we've known each other for a while, cross paths in the radio booth, and build up a brotherhood and a kinship. And I'm mighty thankful that I can call you friend, sir.
Yeah, same here, Mike.
Well, you've been officially. What do your guy do who retires has been doing the voice of the Aggies for what was it, 25 plus years?
Well, 32 years for the Aggies, but I stayed at college football going back to 1970. I started out with the old Southwest Conference Radio Network. So whenever I did my last baseball game, when the COVID and the pandemic hit, that was 50 years of sports of the college level. I did 4 years in the NBA. So I had a great career and enjoyed it all. I got to meet people like you. That's one of the things. I just ran into one of our academic advisors at the grocery store for athletics. And we started talking, and he said, how have you been doing? And I said, well, I tell people all the time, the thing I miss most are the relationships of the folks that you meet down through the years. When we moved on from the Southwest Conference, I missed some of my friends there. And then we moved on from the Big 12 to the SEC, and I miss those guys. And then when I retired from the SEC, there's some people that I really enjoyed getting to meet and building a relationship with them. And I guess I miss that as much as I miss anything, just seeing those folks and having the fellowship with them.
Yes, sir. The camaraderie is unmeasurable. It is truly a fraternity/sorority when you get to meet with these people, and some have impacts that you would have never thought would come to pass. Yeah. And regardless of what level you're on, FBS, FCS, NAIA, you have the common goal that's to tell the story as it unfolds and try to be as professional and not too much of a homer, because you're going to be a homer when you got your teams. But
no lie. Yeah, that's true.
So when you talk
about get close to those coaches, you get to know the players, and you want them to win.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's different because we're working with a team, and with the network guys, they're seeing different schools each week, and they have to play it right down the middle. But A&M my paycheck, and they signed my paycheck, and I wanted the Aggies to win, and I'm still pulling for the Aggies. I want the Aggies to win every time out.
Well, I know you've been happy these last couple of weeks, man. They pulled off the big upset against Florida, then they kind of took care of business with Mississippi State, and I'm gonna get to that in just a little bit because we had what I thought was a very intriguing conversation about the Aggies and the Missouri Tigers coming over to the SEC. But when you go back and you got 50 years, and I know people say, well, what were some of your greatest moments? And when you got 50 years of broadcast, and I got 31. And so I know you could go, randomly off the top of your head, but are there some that just kind of highlight and stick out to you where you say, you know what, this is something special?
Yeah, and there are. I think the Cotton Bowl when we played Auburn back in 85, the end of the 85 season, and they stopped Bo Jackson on the goal line 4 times. That was big.
Right.
That's one I'll always remember because Bo Jackson obviously was a great, great player.
Yes, sir.
And the 1986 Baylor Texas A&M game at Kyle Field was a great game. The Aggies won that one 31-30. And that was voted by the media as the best college football game in the Southwest Conference for the 1980s. And it had everything you would want in a game. It went back and forth. That A&M came back from being down 17-7, I think is what the score was. And they were down at halftime. They came back in the second half and won that ball game with a great pass thrown by Kevin Murray to Tony Thompson that he caught, was juggling it, came down, had the ball when he went out of bounds, and that ended up we kicked the extra point and won the game 31-30. But that was one of the great games that I watched. I think, too, when we beat Kansas State for the Big 12 championship up in St. Louis, that was a great game. We had to go to overtime to win that one, which we did. I think anytime we went to overtime, that was always fun. But in the Notre Dame Cotton Bowls, we had a great win over Notre Dame. But the Cotton Bowl was another great bowl game. Another bowl game I'll never forget is one where we beat Brigham Young out in the Holiday Bowl in San Diego.
Yes, sir.
That was a heck of a game. That was about 1991, as I recall. But that's on that side. And then the basketball games, it wasn't too long ago where we played Northern Illinois, and we came back. We were down by 11 points, as I recall, with something like less than 40 seconds to go. And we came back and forced that game into overtime and ended up winning that game. That was a big one for us. We went to Kansas one year, and we beat the Jayhawks at their place when Billy Gillespie was the head coach. That was another big one. And I think any time that I was with 4 different teams at Texas A&M that made it to the College World Series, we went with the 93 team, again with the 99 team, I guess it was, and then with Rob Childress, we went in 2011 and 2017. And so I think any time that you won you had to play the championship game in various tournaments. The last 2 of those were, I guess the last 3, we were playing those best of 3 series, and we won those games to go to the College World Series in Omaha. We were one of 8 teams that played the very first College World Series at Ameritrade Ballpark in Omaha. So you'll always be a part of that. Nobody will ever be the first of 8 teams ever again to get to play there. They left Rosenblatt, which had such a great history of college baseball in the College World Series, and left Rosenblatt and went over to Ameritrade and then played the College World Series there. But the baseball games, there's just so many of those. But I think anytime you won a game that sent you to the College World Series, that's probably the biggest game that you played.
Absolutely. And once again, we're speaking with Dave South, longtime voice of the Aggies, now retired, but I just got a feeling they will never accept the fact that you're retired, Dave. And it's kind of hard to listen to an Aggie game, and we know that time, moves forward, but just doesn't seem the same anymore.
You're so kind to say that.
Well, I've surveyed, and I'm not just saying that because we got you on. And you're like, man, something's missing. You ever had a favorite dish? and Mama may have dropped an ingredient. You know, Mama, something's missing from there. It's good,
but
there
ain't something right there.
Yeah,
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
You know, and so when you look at it, and how you and I really got even closer was doing those baseball broadcasts. You know, when Prairie View would play, and then some of the playoffs, regional deals, and the booths were right next to each other, and a lot of people, and I lecture and teach some classes online at some couple of universities, and these guys, they underestimate the time it takes to prep for a game. They think you can just walk up, open up a mic, and start speaking. But from your 50 years of experience, just in a Cliff Note version, give just the average prep time for a football, basketball, baseball game, even though they're the same, but there's slightly differences to them.
Well, for the first game of the year, you've got to get with the coaches, and you're trying to cut down, probably no more than 30 players is what you're looking for, and you're trying to get the coaches to give you the 30 players that they expect to play. That's combined both offense and defense, and so you can make up your spotter board. So getting your spotter board ready for the first game is something that takes a lot of time. But once you get the A&M board done, then all you're working on is the other team. And that first game with the other team, sometimes the coach doesn't want to cooperate from the other school and give you everything that you need. And it's not the sports information director's fault, because he's begging that coach. Sometimes the coach didn't want to release his too deep. And so you had to put just about everybody that had played the year before. You just had a very busy spotter board, and you hated that. But you would start, for me, after we played the first game, I would come home, and on Sunday afternoon, I went into my office, and I would lay on the floor, literally lay on the floor, put the game on, because I recorded the game, and I would listen to the entire game. And I listened with a very critical ear to see exactly what I did, what Dave Elmendorf did, what Will Johnson, who did our sidelines for a long time, what he did. And I would critique it. But again, and I'd critique myself. I mean, I'm listening with a critical ear, and if I heard something that was falling into a rut, I wanted to stop that. But you'd work on that, and then you'd start working on the next game on Monday afternoon or Monday night, and you would work on that game all week long. You had a radio show that you did with a coach that you'd have to go and do, and then you'd have to start memory work, because you knew the Aggie numbers for the most part, but you'd have to start doing memory work on the other team and getting all of the stats from their first game and getting that all together. So, yeah, it would take all week long to get it ready for a football game. Not quite like that for baseball, but because you do update your stats for baseball, as you well know. But then the spotter board in basketball had maybe 12 or 13 players, and that was easy to do. And the memory work wasn't near as tough for basketball as it was for football.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, it took all week long on football. Baseball, you're playing 4 times a week, playing Tuesday night, and you're playing 3 times on the weekend. So you had to update everything and get your scorebook ready. So I would take about 3 hours normally to get prepped for a baseball game, and about the same amount of time that I would do for a basketball game.
Yes, sir.
So you're right what you said a minute ago, Mike, and I think a lot of people think you just walk in there and sit down and you start doing it. That's not the case at all.
Yes, sir. But you know what? Call me biased. It's nothing like listening to a baseball game on a radio. I
agree. I think baseball is better on the radio.
Yes, sir. I believe that television is an injustice to baseball, even on the professional ranks. But it's nothing like it, man. And I try to tell people it's the art of telling the story as it unfolds right before you. And you've done a masterful job of it, my friend. And
really, I appreciate it. You know what I think you have to do too is that I think baseball fans will catch you in mistakes faster than basketball fans are football fans.
Yes, sir.
I think you truly have to have a love of the game, and I love the game of baseball. I played it since I was 7 years old. As you know, when you and I were talking the last time, I was a big Brooklyn Dodger fan. I adopted the Dodgers prior to the 1955 season, and I've been a Dodger fan ever since. I know a lot of Astro fans aren't going to like that, but you know what? I just love my Dodgers. And down through the years, I've got to meet a lot of the Dodgers. and talk to them and visit with them, and been out to Dodger Stadium and actually sat down in the dugout and visited with some players there. But I love the game of baseball, and I think you truly have to love it if you're going to broadcast it. And you need to know the game. You need to know the history of the game and all the things that go into it. But I can say, and I'm with you, I like to listen to games. You're not pinned to the television set. You can actually go and, sit out here on the back porch and, play with the dog and listen to the game. And so again, I'll just go back and I'm repeating myself, but to do baseball, you've got to love the game.
Yeah, you got to love it, and it's an art. It is truly an art, and everyone can't do it. And once you find that person that can do it and do it consistently and with excellence, it is greatly appreciated. We're talking right now with Dave South, and I can't make myself say former voice, but I'm just going. So we're gonna say voice. Longtime voice of the Aggies. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's a good way. That's a good way to put it.
And so when we talk about this right now, and we were talking about Texas A&M and Missouri, and it was ironic. The time I was giving them the blues, they both turn around and pull out some major upsets, taking care of LSU, and then at the time Florida. I'm really and truly dead set that Missouri is not an SEC team. And what you said to me about the Aggies, it made sense when you broke it down. And I'm not going to steal your thunder, but in your breath, what makes SEC and Texas A&M fit?
Well, for one thing, the Aggie fans are diehard about their football. I mean, if you look at the traditions of athletics at Texas A&M, it's about football. You got the greatest band in the world. You have the.
Now that's optional. That's optional. There when you say the greatest.
Oh,
band.
I know. There's some other great bands. I agree. You know what? I totally agree with you. And but I'll say this: it's a great football band, and there are some good bands. But I'm very prejudiced toward the.
I understand, and I won't interrupt you no more on that one.
There are some great bands, and I think there are times when a school that we both know came in there and put on a performance and may have finished a little bit ahead of the Aggie band in what they did. So, but no, I mean I know what you're saying, and you're right. But you have your band, you have the tradition of the 12th man where the students stand up. They have midnight yell practice. And all of that goes in. And then I think we just have fans that absolutely love the sport. They tailgate. You got the yell leaders. We don't have cheerleaders. And all of those things go into making A&M a perfect fit for the SEC because those schools over there are the same. They've got a lot of great traditions over there. Over at Auburn, they've got the eagle that flies before the game. They've got the cowbells at Mississippi State, and you can go on, but their fans just are crazy. In Georgia, they get you between the hedges, which was a big deal,
right?
And but all of that, and I think our fans are like their fans, and their fans are like our fans. And I think that's the reason we were a perfect fit for the SEC. And I'm glad that A&M has gone. I know there were some bitter feelings when we left the Big 12, but you got to do what you think's best for your school. And I think this is the last move that A&M will make. I don't think you'll ever see us leave the SEC.
Well, why would you? And I was to the point where I was petitioning that maybe that the SEC ought to kick Missouri out because they've been such a lackluster performance. I believe the early success, and I'm on the record for saying that both A&M and Missouri had was when they were getting used to their constant styles of play. Because for me, I see Jimbo Fisher trying to change that culture at A&M, but to me, A&M was a finesse style program coming into a much more physical SEC traditional program.
Exactly.
And both teams and institutions are making that cultural shift, and A&M might have an inside track on Missouri. And then I was born and raised in St. Louis, Dave. It's just frustrating to see these guys. And I say, well, they beat LSU. Then it was, and I'm kind of thinking it was a blessing in disguise that the Vanderbilt game was postponed because of the COVID virus. So maybe they can regroup and come back and do some things. But it's always exciting to see some good football.
And the other thing that a lot of people don't pay much attention to, the basketball in the SEC is lacking right now. It's trailing, with the exception of Kentucky, of Florida. Who else am I leaving out there? But those two right there probably lead the way, and they're trying to improve the schedules of all of the teams in the SEC. So the basketball isn't as good as it needs to be to compete nationwide. Now, one thing that is good, and I think the SEC baseball, I think that baseball is better than any other conference in the country.
The only other conference I would say
one of those
ACC has a great baseball conference.
They have but I mean, up and down, Missouri they generally have a pretty good baseball team.
Yes, sir.
But you've got, and Kentucky is improving their baseball team. They've got a brand new stadium that they have built. Vanderbilt, that's a great baseball program. Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, they won the back-to-back College World Series. Our program, I think our program is right up there with anybody's. LSU, they lead the nation in attendance every year, and they've got great baseball teams at LSU. Both the Mississippi schools are good. Mississippi State just built a stadium that it's going to be a long time before I think another college team has a stadium as nice as that one at Mississippi State. Ours is nice, but that one at Mississippi State, it blows everybody away.
Wow.
I'm trying to think who I'm leaving out. Georgia's got a good program, but the baseball is very, very competitive. And you can look and see how many players are drafted out of the SEC for Major League Baseball.
Yes, sir.
The Dodgers have a guy right now, Walker Buehler, who pitched at Vanderbilt. That's mighty good. And then we have a player on the Atlanta team, A.J. Minter, who went out the other night against the Dodgers and pitched 3 scoreless innings.
Yes, sir.
So anyway, but that's kind of my summation of the league and why we're there, and we need to be there.
Yes, sir. Now, you're talking about these Dodgers, man. Do they have enough in them tonight?
Well, we'll see. They're going to start that young man, that little redheaded kid that's got all that hair comes out from underneath his hat. They're going to start Dustin May tonight. And it's going to be, apparently the Dodgers are going to go with Johnny Holstaff. That anybody except, I guess, Walker Buehler, who pitched last night, I think he's the only one that's not going to be available for this game tonight.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're going to go all out and try to get themselves to the World Series, and we'll see if they do.
Nothing like a Game 7, my friend. Nothing like a Game 7.
That's exciting, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Well, look, Dave, I know we said we weren't going to have you on this long, but, man, time truly flies when you're having fun.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, and I'll be on any time you want me.
Okay, well, before we go, you got something that you've been doing uniquely now, and I think the listeners will be interested to hear. You got a special show up in Aggieland. Tell us about that before we go.
Yeah, you know what? I was talking to Jim Hawthorne, who was the 35-year voice of the LSU Tigers, when in his last time he came in here was a basketball game, and he was retiring at the end of that year. And I was talking to him over at Reed Arena, and I said, what do you have planned when you retire? He said, my wife and I are going to travel for a while. He said, I've left her at home all these years, and we're just going to go, and we're going to be husband and wife and have a great time and put sports behind us. And that's what I'm planning on doing. And then he said, I've talked to a radio station there in Baton Rouge, and when I get back, I asked them if I could have 2 hours on a Sunday night. He said, it's a country and western radio station. And he said, I want to have an old-time country music show. He said, I DJ'd in high school and college, and I want to go back and DJ again. And I said, you know what? I DJ'd in high school and college. I might be interested in doing that because I've got an unbelievable library. I've got everybody imaginable from the 50s and 60s. So I talked to the local PBS station, KAMU, the campus radio station here at A&M. And I said, would you guys be willing to give me an hour each week? So they gave me an hour. I'm on Saturdays at 5 and Sundays at 12 noon. And I'm playing the music of the 50s and 60s. And it's been well received. I'm now 2 years this month deep into that show. I'm well over 100 radio shows that I record these things. I don't do them live. I record them here in the studio at the house and then send it over to the station and they play it back. But I've just had more fun doing that. And they've had great response on it. The internet is different now because we didn't have the internet when I was DJing, and you can get a whole lot of information about different people. And I'm just playing everybody imaginable. I'm playing Conway Twitty. I'm playing Elvis, playing Fats Domino, playing Little Richard. I had a Little Richard show here the other day. And it just goes on and on down the line. The Drifters, who else? The Platters. And Dion, all of these people. And then you can get information on them that you couldn't get back in the 60s when I was DJing, that you get some insight on some of them. You find out a lot of them that that wasn't their real names, that they were using stage names. Conway Twitty, that's not his real name. His name is Harold Lloyd Jenkins. And he took the name from Conway, Arkansas, and Twitty, Texas. I don't know where Twitty, Texas is, but he named himself Conway Twitty. Marty Robbins, that's not his real name. I don't remember what his name is, but you just get insight on a lot of these people, and you find out a whole lot about them, that they had a hard time growing up. They were dirt poor, and the radio, the music business gave them an escape from all of that. But I know that one of the guys that, believe it or not, you know who had the first million seller in the rock and roll field?
I'm waiting.
1947, and it was a song by Fats Domino. He sold 1 million records, and he was the first million seller on a record. And of course, Fats Domino, he was just churning out the hits all the time. But that was one of the things I remember about Fats. And I've had a Fats Domino show. I really like his music. So,
well, anyway, how can someone listen to it?
A wonderful time.
How can they listen to it?
You can go online. You can go to KAMU FM. You can go online, and when you go to it, you can listen live, and you can select that show. That show will show up, and you can listen to it at 5 o'clock on Saturdays and 12 noon on Sundays. And like I say, if you like the music from about 1956 or 57 through about 1966, 67, you'll enjoy the show because we're playing a little bit of everything. I've got a vast library, probably of about 10,000 titles. And we play all of that. And I'll do a feature today, for instance, on the show. We did the all number one songs from 1955. Every song on the show today was a number one song sometime during 1955. And I'm going to do number ones like that, not necessarily right in a row, but all the way through 1967.
So, man, how long does it take you to build that list up?
Well, a lot of it I had just from I'm crazy about music. I was a big music collector. I've always loved music, and I saved a lot of my stuff from the DJ days. And obviously you can get it off of iTunes now, but I've been able to transfer all of my CDs to MP3s on my computer, and then I gave all my MP3s to people I worked with. Not MP3s. I gave all my CDs to people that I worked with there in the athletic department.
Okay.
But I've had fun doing that. It's been a lot of fun. And they found an underwriter for it. I think Kroger's underwriting it, and then also the Texas A&M Foundation underwrote it. I'm doing it for free because they just they look for sponsorships to underwrite the programming.
Right. Well, my friend, it seems like that you're still busy, and that's one thing about it. When it's in your DNA, it's in your DNA, whether it's a broadcast for sports or it's a broadcast for the 50s and 60s. The bottom line is that you are broadcasting.
Yeah. Let me put in a plug here. Let me say something. If somebody's out there, especially young people, and you're getting ready to get out of school, wherever you end up, try to give back to the community that you live in. And I'm not patting myself on the back because I was inspired by a man who used to own a car dealership here, who was just a wonderful gentleman. and he told me one day that he was driving for Meals on Wheels. And I said, you know what? I think that'd be kind of interesting. So 2 years ago this month, I started driving for Meals on Wheels. And I deliver meals every Tuesday to 22 different individuals. And I'm going to tell you something. I have met some of the nicest people, most humble people who have very little. And that meal they're getting a lot of times is the only thing they're eating all day. And some of them might have to save part of their meal, and it's not that big. They have to save part of their meal that they get on Friday so they'll have something to eat Saturday and Sunday.
Wow.
And when's the last, I don't know, I can't remember a time when we were poor. I mean, we didn't have a lot of money at all. And but I never went to bed hungry. And I think some of those people go to bed hungry. They're generally all senior citizens. And it's all ethnicities, too. It's white, black, it's Hispanic. It doesn't discriminate on people who don't have anything to eat. And I'm just so happy that Meals on Wheels is available. There's another ministry that we volunteer for called the Bridge Ministry that allows you to come down and pick up a box of food. You can go down there. They feed about 90 people a week. They give you a big box of food that's donated by various grocery stores and the food bank and what have you. But we go down there. I volunteer there on Thursdays and do some work there. But the point I'm making is if you're going to live somewhere and you're going to be a part of a community, give back to it.
Yes, sir.
Just give them some time. You're going to meet some people that you're going to learn to love, and they're going to love you back.
Absolutely. And on that, my friend, we have got to hit the top of the hour where we got to say good night for now. But look, man.
All right. Good night, Mike. And you have me on anytime you want to talk to me. I hope you'll call.
Yes, sir. We love you, man. Appreciate you. Thanks for all you've done. Right. We want to thank our guests that have joined in with us on tonight. Gene Johnson with the Waller Bulldogs. Also, Mr. Dave South, longtime voice of the Texas A&M Aggies. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Thanking you guys so much for joining us. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at The Mike Prince Show. The YouTube channel is Open Mic Broadcast Network. Our 24-hour dial-in message line, 713-570-6736. I've got to go. You guys be blessed. And we'll see you on the other side.